Taking a Walk. I'm Buzz Knight, and welcome to Taking a Walk. Some voices don't just sing, they speak to you. Today, I'm joined by Grammy nominated singer songwriter Cam, whose music blends heart, storytelling, and a bold spirit all her own. We'll talk about the journey, the lessons, and the moments on the road that shape the songs. We'll take a break and hear a word from our sponsors and be back with Cam. It's so nice to meet you, Cam, on Taking a Walk.
It's so nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. So, we like to open the podcast with our signature question here, since we call this podcast Taking a Walk, Cam. If you could take a walk with somebody living or dead, who would you take a walk with and
Oh.
where?
I would probably take a walk with my grandma Marvel because I miss her. She was kind of like the light of our family, huge personality, matriarch. And I think I would probably take a walk with her at their ranch in Southern California.
That
Yeah.
would be probably beautiful, I'm guessing, Cam.
Yes. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's like, I think people have this misconception that California somehow isn't country. Like all the Texans and the Oklahomans kind of have like a chokehold on it. But we had our own Okie migration and we have our own dance halls and we got our own country music and we got barns and there's just palm trees sometimes in the mix.
Exactly. So, the new album, All Things Light, it's been called your most personal and sonically ambitious project yet. Can you share how motherhood and your recent life experiences have so beautifully shaped this record?
Yeah. Beautifully in the way that you know how they describe awe? Like awe is this thing that's like kind of a mix of like terror and wonder at something that's sort of unknowable. And that's how I felt coming into motherhood and the pandemic at the same time. It was like a normal sort of identity crush and shift that happens, but then to have it happen while the whole world was going through like an identity crush and shift. I'm laughing because I have to laugh from like it was just so intense. And I'm not someone that can be met with like an existential crisis and then just go, oh, I won't think about that today. I'll think about that tomorrow. I'm like, I get sucked into it and I have to stare it dead in the face and come to terms with it, like fix it or accept it. And that's the only way I know how to do it. So in that time of like, early, early baby on my lap and not knowing what was going to happen, I started spending some time by myself in the studio and these songs started coming out and it was like, it felt like a new well that I was like tapping into somehow. So it's kind of like my patchwork of beliefs of things that I needed to hear and questions I needed to ask and like foundational like touchstones that I needed to carry me through that period.
I often feel asking musicians what's on their playlist shades the way I think a new creation comes to light in its own regard with those influences that are on a playlist. So, what would we see on your playlist?
My playlist is all over the place, which maybe is why people say things like sonically ambitious. And I think it's because my normal is like a very big, wide net. Like I grew up in a children's choir, so I learned how to sing in like Bulgarian folk songs and like Verdi's Requiem. And so I have things like musical theater like soundtracks to classical music to folk music to like everything all around to like I got really on a kick of like 60s French pop music for a while and yeah there's not many things I dislike maybe that's maybe more of an issue.
Any particular artist, at least on the folk side, that you want to single out?
Yeah, well, I think you can hear it on the album too. Joni Mitchell for sure. Yeah, I just love my mom loved folk music. And I remember like in college getting really into Bob Dylan. And I was like, Mom, you're not gonna believe this guy named Bob Dylan. And my mom was like, I was smoking pot and quilting to Bob Dylan before you were a twinkle in your daddy's eye. Like it's so fun now having recorded music and getting all of us getting to experience it at the right time and the right age, and then reconnecting with everybody about how that affects everything. So the Weavers, that folk group, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Love that too.
Oh, I do. I have to confess something. Whenever a guest such as you sings a little bit, just like you did, you might be able to notice that I was blushing with joy when you did that.
Oh, I like doing it. So,
I couldn't resist telling you that. But
oh,
are you a finger picker?
with guitar, you mean?
Yeah.
I am untrained, unskilled, and somehow people think it's like inventive. So yes, there's no pick involved. There's kind of a strummy thing happening, and it's not. I won't recommend it to anyone, but every now and then I'll play on a record. Like I got to play on Sam Smith record that we did together called Palace, and everyone's like, "What is that tone?" It's like the tone of ignorance and just pure emotion.
Oh, come on.
But
It sounds
some no,
beautiful.
yeah, but I think sometimes being untrained, you know how they say like for meditators, like being a beginner is like the best thing because you don't have the expectations, you don't have any of those, you're not trying to force it to be anything. And my guitar skills I'll keep around beginner level for that reason.
I don't know about that. Do you feel in today's world of the way studios and software works that the beauty of imperfection has sort of been left behind?
Hmm. Yeah, yes. And then I think there's this other like symptom that comes up with it that people overly romanticize. I'm so at fault of doing this too, like live, very, very live, raw music. And the opportunity we all get to get into recording spaces now, like there's not the inherent same gatekeeping, which is amazing, but also like you didn't have to work so hard playing live and touring it for years to then finally get in and play something live. So the abilities of people to play live and play raw and unfiltered and have happy accidents, I don't think they happen as much either because people are just we don't practice it the same way. We just show up with crazy ideas and we want to record it and then we go tour it.
The lead track on All Things Light, Turns Out That I'm God. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was inspired by Alan Watts, wasn't it?
Yeah, an Alan Watts lecture.
And deep introspection. What drew you to those themes, and how did they find their way into your songwriting?
Yeah, I wasn't raised religious. My dad was a Catholic and then decidedly not a Catholic. And my mom kind of like, I think did a couple Christian Science things one time, but never really, they're both very, spiritual people, but not religious. And I loved that growing up. And then I hit this unsure time, like I was telling you, and I needed something more. And so I think reaching for anybody that wanted to talk about being spiritual, but that had a language that I could understand as someone that wasn't raised in religion, it's like I kind of like I don't have the vocabulary to just jump in a lot of spaces. And so Alan Watts, he's kind of like self-admittedly entertainment orator most of the time even. So him just like I just found I don't know, all of us like new agey people do. We just get into these philosophical lectures and that one I remember sitting in the studio and listening and being like, "Whoa, what if we're all God and we've just forgotten?" Why does that feel so important to say to me and why is it so hard now that I'm on the other end of it singing it to people? Why is it so hard for some people to hear? and accept. And it's very interesting to me, the effect that song has on people and the people that need it. Just makes me want to cry how wonderful it is to hear people like finally say that about themselves and recognize the divine in themselves and what a comfort that is. And yeah, and it's very, very interesting to hear people that they can't or won't or don't want to hear it.
So you had some interesting collaborators on this project. Tyler Johnson, Jeff Basker. Anybody I'm leaving out that was part
Yeah,
of it?
actually tons to be honest, because Tyler is kind of like my musical brother. We came up together. I met him, a boyfriend of mine, a long time ago, shared an apartment with him, and we were just like, let's make music. And here we are all these years later, still making music, which is so fun. And Jeff, I've worked with on the past albums too. He's, obviously a huge name. And then it was so fun because Tyler and I set up shop at East West Studios, which is where they did Mamas and Papas and Beach Boys Pet Sounds. And it's, obviously iconic. And you can hear it in the room, and it's such a fun spot to sort of sit in and brainstorm and come up with ideas. And then we'd have, in Los Angeles, you'd have really talented people just swing by and help out, like Ethan Gruska and Michael Uzaruru. And I joke that it feels like kind of like a little sitcom or something because they walk through the door like, hey, and what fun thing are we going to do today? And yeah, Tyler and I said we just had the best. This was probably the most fun we had making a record because obviously we're very, or I don't know if it's obvious, but I'm pretty serious when it comes to like the music and the content of it, and he can be very serious about it too, but I feel like we held it much more lightly this time around. So it made for a really fun time between us and with all these incredibly talented people coming in and how they could work with us.
So you studied psychology and you worked in research labs,
Yeah.
and then you made the big leap into music. How do those experiences outside of music sort of impact you as you kind of reflect on it?
Yeah, I think being slightly older and having just like had another job, that in itself helps because I think a lot of young people that they're like, I don't, they don't go to college and they come straight into the music business and it'll just eat us all alive. So I think I felt slightly more grounded, although you're never quite ready for all the punches that get thrown. But the psychology of it, I think the same thing that like drives me when I find like a concept or a line or like a melody and I'm like, I can't let it go. I dream about it and I think about it and I have to shape it into something that is like I have to make it. And that feeling, I think it like a related distant cousin that I was sort of like trying to figure out how to chase it when I was doing psychology research because it was like, why do I feel these things? And why does everybody feel these things? And what is the point? And what does it mean? And kind of framing it different ways in these different labs. Like there was a lab that was about relationships and how you do conflict resolution in relationships. And there was a lab about attachment theory, and there's a lab about cultural differences and like the emotions we want to feel. And all of it was like starting to get at like pulling at the threads of I think this sort of through line that goes in me, and it's finally I think I landed on it with music where it was like, oh, this is the method that's gonna help me. I don't know, execute my purpose. That sounds really heavy, but it's just there's something to it all that it's like it's very discovery oriented.
The psychology of the song "Slow Down" really spoke to me immediately in the world around us. Do I have that right?
Yes, yeah. I hope it spoke to you. I feel like it's very fun singing that song for people that haven't heard it yet because they're like I've watched grown women like shed a tear and people just be like, "Whoa, I needed this right now." And yeah, our culture is not built for I think full presence, in all of our moments. We're very rush, rush, busy, busy. What did you get done today? That determines how you feel about yourself. And my first time experiencing like outside of that, I went to Nepal after college, and time and like efficiency and like all these like super, I didn't realize like American like practices and behaviors, like it was completely out the window, and it was like, oh, you don't have to live like this. And it blew my mind, and so I've been trying to, it's a reminder for me too. I've been trying to live slower, especially now that I've got a little kid I want to spend time with.
You've written for some massive artists. You mentioned Sam Smith earlier, Beyonce, obviously, while also forging your own, unique path. What lessons do you take from those experiences, and how have they influenced your solo work?
I think I've been so lucky to work with people that, and artists that are doing it in the light that I get to see them for like art's sake. Like they're making it, which sounds so maybe obvious, but it's not obvious. I think there's a lot of people who are doing this because either they love being the center of attention or they think that there's like money to be made. I don't think the same money is around to be made anymore. And I think some of those people, I'm hoping that weeds some of them out, selfishly. But the people that, even at those levels that they're at, they could be in cruise control, and they could say, well, I'll just, do what I've done for 8 more records and be done with it. And they don't. They push themselves into, they're chasing something too, artistically, or they have their purpose is to be making something and they're following it. And I love being around that energy.
Yeah, I used to sometimes scratch my head when, I don't know, you could fill in the blank with any artist or band, that is going back out for the,
Yeah.
final retirement tour, and yeah, I would give the collective eye roll, but then the more I kind of either listen to the artists or read about the artists, it truly is the art that they're chasing, and that importance of community connection with an audience.
Yeah.
So I think and that I want to ask you about how important for you is connection to community when you go out and play live.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Because I actually do weigh it. Do I want to tour or not? Like I take time between albums, and I take time before I do things, and I don't take it as a given. I'm on a road, so therefore I must keep doing it. I like to decide for myself every time. And I get so nervous right before I go out, as everybody does, I think. And then I feel so like at peace and welcomed. Like my husband is so funny. I'll be like, oh, I'm so nervous. I got to, show tonight and this is happening. And he goes, you'll feel better when you sing. And it always happens. I do just feel so much better. I get up there, I sing, I feel better. And you're looking out at these people, and everybody, it's like they're there because they feel the same way. And we're all having some version of the same experience. And that's probably the most honest to God spiritual experience that I've had, like, and I wish everybody could feel it. I think you feel it when you come to the shows too. You have this like, wow, this is like a whole moment we're having together. You're synchronized somehow. Yeah, it's really special.
We produce this other podcast. It's called Music Saved Me, and it's about the healing power of music and what it means in that regard. Do you personally believe that music has supernatural healing powers?
Yes, 100%. Like I gave like a TEDx talk one time about how healing music is and how it's a part of every culture humans have ever had since the beginning of humans. So we absolutely need it. It is such a huge part of our community. And it's like not individual, it's like a community based behavior, and it just, every time I sing, people want to come up and tell me how the same thing that you're saying, like how it saved them in a marriage, in an addiction issue, in just a rough time in their life, in a like the valleys, you know. And you're not always in a valley, so you can be having a great time and go to a show and just have a great time. But I think for music to like save you, it's when you feel like there's no way out, and then a song like just sneaks in to your heart and it reaches you and it reminds you of something that's outside of yourself. And yeah, I can't imagine a world without it. Like, I think it's probably the thing we could maybe be most proud of as human beings, that love and music, you know?
Your work, in my view, explores vulnerability as a strength. Why is honesty such an essential tool for you as a songwriter?
Sometimes I think it's because I'm really like stubborn and I sort of refuse. Like, if someone wants me to do something and they tell me to do it, I then all of a sudden I go, I don't want to do that anymore. And if you tell me, oh, you shouldn't do that, then I definitely want to do it. And I don't know exactly how it ties back in, but there's something where like I have to feel like it's my choice. And I know it's probably so obnoxious in a lot of situations, but it's also like so real and so me. And that's where I think if I strip back anytime I'm being a people pleaser, anytime I'm making sure I'm checking boxes that I society told me I should do to feel successful, and you strip, and then you get down to the heart of it, and it's like this is the thing that makes me feel seen or feel safe. I just feel like that's the whole point. I feel it in my body when I do it too. Like I feel it in my stomach, and it's like that's what you're supposed to be doing. But music's such a weird thing, you know, nobody really like you can go to music school, but nobody really teaches you like how to really know the feeling of what's right and wrong, you know?
Talk about the song "Kill the Guru." Um, what was the inspiration there? Was it a sort of a period of time where you were traveling and you were looking for something? Talk about that.
Yeah, that song, I honestly, I feel like anyone who says they have all the answers is like the biggest red flag. Like it's the that you should run away from anyone who says, I know exactly how life goes. I know exactly what you need. You know, it just is like the scariest thing you can hear. But I had to learn that the hard way. I actually like fell in love with and dated guru. Like if when I was on that trip in Nepal, he was not Nepalese. I don't want to give Nepalese people a bad name. But I found out the hard way, like just it's so intoxicating to be around someone who acts like they know and they have all the answers, especially when you're in your 20s, you know? And like, I just, oh my God, of course he didn't. And of course he was just a total narcissist. So, like, this is my, you know, I love when there's like a wink and it's kind of country too, to like have you're singing something and the narrator is like, a false narrator, like sort of line, like, are you feeling lonely? I know what to do. You know, like I love when there's like a switch like that. And yeah, it's like kind of also I get the last laugh by naming it Kill the Guru.
I get the last laugh. I love that. That's outstanding. You've had some great collaborations with folks such as Harry Styles, Tim McGraw, Beyonce, Alicia Keys. Any future collaborations or dream projects you want to reveal just between us?
I love that. I feel like to me, I am just in a spot where I'm so excited for the right opportunities that walk through the door. And I'm sort of most excited about someone who hasn't like broke yet. Like something in me is really excited to meet somebody totally brand new because those are my favorite people if I have my full dream scenario. People that have done it all and now do not care and they're doing only what they want to do. And the people that are so brand new, they don't know any of the rules, so they don't follow them either. And they just have so much hope and optimism for what they can achieve. And those two types of writers and musicians are like my favorite people to work with. So I feel like I've met some people at the top now, and I want more brand new energy.
So you're going to be hitting the road for a bit, right? And
Yeah.
folks getting to see you out there. But in closing, what do you hope that listeners take away from the new album, especially when it comes to, the important themes of resilience and self-discovery?
Yeah, thank you for putting it so well. The first line is I was busy waiting for someone to live my life. And that's that autopilot we can all find ourselves in, that I found myself in. And then something happens and it shakes you awake, or is a very oftentimes negative, sad event that can kind of break you. And I hope that this album is like a companion to your grief as it was to mine. And then the end of the album is try. I just say try a bunch of times, like stacked, and I'm like screaming it. And I just hope people feel like they can hold space for the darker things, and then they still have this light that I'm giving them to sort of walk through. And it's for them, and it's for my daughter too. I hope when she's older and feeling lost, this is something that can be there with her.
I'm so grateful to have met you and to have had you on the podcast, Cam.
It's so wonderful talking with you.
So awesome. Congrats on all things light, and good luck on the tour, and all good health to you, and all good health to
Thank
your
you.
family.
I appreciate that. Right back at you.
Thanks, Cam.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Taking a Walk podcast. Share this and other episodes with your friends and follow us so you never miss an episode. Taking a Walk is available on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.